It starts with a letter, an energy bill that's higher than the last one, which was already higher than the one before. It's that quiet, creeping anxiety that settles into your home, forcing conversations about which lights to turn off and which appliances to unplug. For the Miller family, living what felt like the modern Swiss dream, this feeling was a betrayal. They and thousands of other families were suddenly facing a future where winter blackouts and crushing energy costs were a real threat. Their dream was slipping away, held hostage by forces way outside their control. This isn't just their story, it's the story of how a nation, once lagging, decided to take its future back, one rooftop at a time. For generations, Switzerland built its reputation on precision, stability, and stunning natural landscapes. But under the surface, a vulnerability was growing. The nation was heavily dependent on imported energy and an aging fleet of nuclear power plants. This created a precarious situation, easily rocked by volatile global energy prices and politics. For families like the Millers, this big national problem had very personal consequences. Their monthly budget became a tightrope walk, a warm home during the biting alpine winters. That was no longer a guarantee, but a luxury they had to carefully calculate. And they weren't alone. A small, family-owned bakery, a community cornerstone for decades, watched as rising electricity costs threatened to shut down its ovens for good. A dairy farmer worried if he could afford to run his milking equipment and refrigerators. The emotional toll was immense, a feeling of helplessness, of being a passenger in a car heading toward a cliff. Switzerland, a country of innovators, found itself surprisingly behind. It was a nation ripe for a change, just waiting for a spark. That spark finally came. Recognizing the double threat of climate change and energy insecurity, the Swiss government laid out a bold new vision, the Energy Strategy 2050. The plan was ambitious: phase out nuclear power, slash fossil fuel use, and pivot hard toward renewables. And at the very heart of this new strategy was the sun. The goal was to turn solar power from a niche hobby into a cornerstone of the national grid. Suddenly, what seemed impossible for the Millers started to feel possible. The government rolled out powerful incentives, subsidies that cut the upfront cost of installation, tax rebates that made the investment smarter and simpler, permitting processes that sliced through red tape. For the Millers, this wasn't just policy, it was a lifeline. They started researching, making calls, and asking questions. Could they really do this? Could they cover their own roof with panels that would capture the sun and turn it into freedom? The fear that had gripped their family began to fade, replaced by a flicker of hope. They decided to take the leap. They decided to go solar. The day the installers arrived at the Millers' home was a turning point. It was the physical proof of their decision to take back their independence. The process was faster and smoother than they'd imagined. A team of skilled technicians, part of a booming new industry, moved with practiced ease, securing the mounts and carefully placing each dark, gleaming panel onto the roof. It was a pretty profound moment for the family, watching their home transform into their own personal power station. Of course, there was a little nervous excitement. This was a big investment, a bet on a technology they were just starting to understand. But as the last panel clicked into place and the inverter was switched on, something amazing happened. On a small digital display, they watched their home begin to generate its own electricity. The meter, which for years had only spun forward, counting up their costs, was now effectively running backward. The sun was no longer just a fact of life, it was their ally. That constant anxiety started to melt away, replaced by a powerful sense of pride and ownership. They weren't just consumers anymore, they were producers. They were part of the solution. The change in the Müller family's life was immediate and dramatic. The first energy bill that arrived after the installation was a moment of pure joy. The numbers that once caused so much stress had plummeted. The savings were real, freeing up money for family activities, for the future, for a little more breathing room. But it went deeper than just money. The gnawing anxiety about blackouts and price hikes, gone. Winter was no longer a season to dread, but one to be enjoyed. Their home kept warm and bright. by the clean energy they were making themselves. They found themselves paying more attention to their energy use, not out of fear, but out of a new appreciation for it. They checked their monitoring app, feeling a sense of pride in the kilowatt hours their roof was generating, a visible symbol of their contribution. Their kids were growing up in a home powered by the sun, learning a powerful lesson about sustainability and innovation. The solar panels became a conversation starter, inspiring friends and neighbors. The Millers' personal story showed that a more secure, sustainable life wasn't just some lofty ideal, but a practical reality. Their home had become a beacon of hope, proving that one family's choice could make a real difference. It's a choice many are making, with about 41% of Swiss homeowners now considering residential batteries to gain even more independence from the grid. The Millers' story wasn't happening in a vacuum. All across Switzerland, their journey was being repeated thousands of times over. From city apartments to sprawling farms, a quiet revolution was taking place. The government's Energy Strategy 2050 had kicked off a massive wave of adoption. Switzerland saw a record increase in solar capacity, installing about 1.78 gigawatts in 2024 alone. By that year, the country's total installed solar capacity hit around 8 gigawatts. For the first time ever, solar power was on track to cover over 10% of Switzerland's total electricity needs, generating more electricity than the Besnau nuclear power plant. This was a huge shift. The market is now seeing explosive growth, with some projecting a compound annual growth rate of nearly 29% between 2025 and 2033. This boom was fueled by incredible innovation. Swiss companies started developing hyper-efficient bifacial panels that could capture reflected light from snow, perfect for alpine regions. Energy communities began popping up, allowing neighbors to share locally produced power and storage, strengthening the grid from the ground up. And it wasn't just about rooftops. Creative solutions emerged, with plans to install solar panels along highways and even between railway tracks, turning everyday infrastructure into clean energy sources. Of course, the path wasn't perfectly smooth. Debates popped up about the aesthetics of large-scale solar farms in pristine mountain landscapes, but the Swiss spirit of consensus and problem-solving won out. The focus remained on what was possible, with studies showing that the potential of Switzerland's roofs and facades alone could theoretically cover the country's entire electricity demand for 2050. The revolution was here, powered not just by technology, but by the collective will of a nation choosing a brighter future. From one family's anxiety over a power bill to a nationwide movement, Switzerland's solar story is a powerful testament to hope and human ingenuity. The Müllers, once feeling trapped by a system they couldn't control, found their independence on their own rooftop. Their story, multiplied by thousands, has fundamentally changed their country's path. The journey from being a follower to becoming a leader in renewable energy shows that a secure, sustainable future isn't a distant dream. It's a choice. It's a revolution powered by the sun, built one panel at a time, proving that the best way forward is the one we build ourselves. Ready to be part of the solution? If this story has inspired you to declare your own energy independence, visit our website. We have the resources, guides, and connections to help you start your own solar journey. The future is bright. Let's build it together.